Hello everyone and welcome to another very exciting complete growing guide here on the MIgardener channel. This one is going to be a complete growing guide on raspberries. So for all of you that saw our complete growing guide on blackberries, don't worry, you're not going crazy. This is the exact same information, I promise. Just for searchability, if we didn't make two different growing guides, we'd have someone asking about blackberries and we'd have someone asking about raspberries. We could have combined them into both in one video, but we didn't because we go crazy, because it does happen all the time. So for those that watch religiously, just skip this video if you already saw the blackberry video and you can thank me later. But for those watching for the first time, this is a complete growing guide on raspberries, and we absolutely love raspberries. They are delicious. They're sweet and tart, and they're just one of our most favorite soft-bodied fruits out there. You just cannot beat the flavor. But something new that you might not know, even if you've pretty much known all about raspberries, you might not know that there are dozens and dozens of different varieties. There are spring, there are summer, and there are fall raspberries. And so in that group, there's also thornless and thorned raspberries, and there are also red, yellow, peachy white. They're called white, but they're more like peach, and black raspberries. So there are so many different colors, and we recommend growing all of them because they will ripen at different times in the season and provide different flavors and antioxidants. So for those wanting to grow the healthiest food for them, don't just grow the red stuff, grow all the different colors. We have every color here, and we actually have some more colors coming on the way. We have the peach, the peachy white, and we also have the black coming. So we do have the red and we do have the yellow on our property, and real excited about it. So let's get into growing it. So the first thing you need to know when growing it is whether or not you're starting from bare root, which we are. That's this little stick here with a white tag on it. It is coming out of dormancy though. Whether or not you're starting from bare root or you're starting from the nursery, the soil type will be the same no matter what. And we have it in basically a slightly clay, pretty well draining soil, even though it is clay. And we've amended it with about 2 to 5% compost for that organic matter to hold on to more moisture, allow it to drain pretty freely, and also give the soil the life that it needs to grow. But one of the reasons why we have it in, I guess, not as ideal soil as it could be is because we had this bed here already and it was growing with a bunch of plants we didn't really want here. So we cleaned out all those plants and put plants here that we could actually eat and enjoy. And the nice thing about raspberries is that they grow in areas that most fruits and vegetables would have a problem growing in. So because they don't necessarily mind that heavier clay soil, now again, we don't want super heavy clay soil. There is a fine line, but they can definitely tolerate higher clay content soil than most stuff can. So we put them here so we can enjoy them and actually use this space wisely. The next thing I want to talk about is watering. So watering is extremely important when growing soft-bodied fruits because you'll find that they dry out as fast as that. They dry out so fast and turn into raisins like you would not believe. And if you've ever seen a dry, shriveled up raspberry, it's because it did not get enough water. And they're extremely prone to drying out. So what we do is we water at least twice a week, and we also will crater the soil. And that basically means we plant about 1 to 2 inches lower than the original soil level, and it makes this very slight indentation that water will naturally flow into since it's lower than the rest of the soil, and it will essentially just kind of pool there, and it allows the roots to get access to more moisture than they would normally get. And it also optimizes water, so you don't have to water as much during the hot season. So that's what we do there. Another thing when it comes to growing raspberries is fertilizing. Because we are starting from a bare root does not mean that you treat them any differently than starting them from a nursery plant. So we're going to treat them exactly the same. And I know there's a lot of different conflicting information out there, but trust me, I'm the one with the growing guide, so you can trust the information I'm putting out. And you do not need to treat them any differently. An already growing plant from the nursery will need a high nitrogen fertilizer, just like we gave this bare root plant a high nitrogen fertilizer. And the reason being, oftentimes you'll hear people say, oh, give them lots of phosphorus if they're bare root. Baloney sandwiches all around. It's not true. And the reason is because you need to pull them out of dormancy. Right now the plant does not even have any concern about growing a root system because there's no leaves yet, and you need leaves in order to grow produce energy through photosynthesis that is then stored in the roots. So nitrogen always has to come first. So put that on a t-shirt. Nitrogen always comes first, and you'll never forget it. So in the beginning of the season, we'll feed them with Trifecta Plus, but you can feed them with blood meal if you want. That's also another great source of nitrogen. And that nitrogen is going to pull the plant out of dormancy and work on leaf growth. After that, you can pretty much leave it for the rest of the season. You don't have to worry. But then in the end of the season, after the fruit has been picked, again, depending on the type of raspberry, it might be a spring, summer, or fall raspberry. As soon as the fruit is done and you've already picked it, you want to start preparing the plant for winter. It seems crazy, even if it's a spring variety or an early summer variety, you have to start preparing it for winter because basically the fruit's objective is to ripen its fruit. And since it's a perennial, the plant actually is already doing it. Crazy as it may seem, the plant is already, as soon as the fruit ripens, the plant has already done its deed. Its job is done to preserve its genetic diversity. Now it has to focus on surviving itself so it can do it the next year, the following year. So it will begin to form roots and it will actually slow down growth. Another thing, going back to fertilizing in the spring, you're actually going to get more fruit production if you fertilize with nitrogen because fruit forms on new growth that same year. Peaches and other fruit trees, they'll form fruit the following year on new growth, which is often where that kind of is confused. But if these form new growth, they will fruit on that new growth this year. So it really is a reward to taking care of your plant early on in the season. You get it off to a good start and you're going to have a bumper crop. So the next thing that we want to talk about is soil pH. That's pretty much it though. Oh, and sunlight, which we'll talk about. So soil pH, they're very particular when it comes to soil pH. Anything over anything over a 7.0 will hurt it. You want a pH of basic or slightly acidic. So we tend to give ours, basically blackberries and raspberries, they're in the same bed here. So we pretty much give them a pH of 6.0 to 6.5. And we do that by giving them some soil acidifier. It's basically just powdered soil sulfur. And we'll just sprinkle that around the plants. Because they're in a clay-based soil, it has a tendency to make it a little more alkaline continuously. So this is something we do every year. And well, we will do it every year. We've done it for the first time this year because we just bought the house in last year. So since we just planted these, we fixed the pH, and next spring we'll fix the pH again. And it's just something you're going to want to do from time to time to make sure that the plant is uptaking the nutrients that it needs. And a lot of people don't realize that soil pH is the #1 regulator for pulling up nutrients. If your soil is not the right pH, the plant won't be able to take up the nutrients that it ideally would like to be taking up. And the final thing is sunlight. So sunlight is something that we like to cover all the time in these growing guides because it's something you can do really wrong. Blackberries and raspberries both enjoy filtered full sun. So we have a tree to the left and a tree to the right, and basically there's a big gap in the center, and there's a gap below the tree and a gap below that tree. So we have two spots where you get filtered sun, and then the rest of the day you get pretty much great full sun. And so we want to give them about 4.5 to 5.5 hours of full sun, and the rest can be filtered. And the reason being is they need some breaking from that hot sun. Hopefully the wind's not messing up the audio. It's getting real windy here, but we have a storm front moving through. So pretty much the sunlight is going to be important, but you don't want too much full sun. Otherwise, you're going to have sun scald on the fruit. And if you've ever seen sun scald, it's like a kind of a really soft, kind of silvery, mushy spot. And it happens on all fruits, but it's really prone on your vining, your brambly fruits because they're a vining plant and they don't really provide a whole lot of leaf cover that's normally found with most of your other fruits and vegetables. But since they are so kind of sparse with their leaves, you'll find that their fruit is really open to the sun a lot. And that's why having that break in the sun is great. And that's why a lot of permaculturists will actually plant their brambles below fruit trees because they make a great ground cover, or kind of a small understory, if you will, to protect them from that harsh sun that really is something that will damage a lot of fruit. So that's all there is to growing raspberries. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you think I missed something, let me know in the comments box below. Also, if you'd like to see more growing guides like this, make sure to check out our playlist. We have a playlist on YouTube with now over 35, I think, growing guides, incredible on fruits and vegetables. So it's worth checking out, especially if you like this one. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel reminding you to grow big or go home and grow some raspberries while you're at it. I'll catch you later. See ya. Bye.